Good afternoon, folks. I apologize for the noise in the background, but I don't have much control over the weather. I'm all for the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade. We've been making that severe error, that sin, that mistake. We made it for too long. If you think about it, but I'll just tell you about it. For every innocent baby's life we've taken, we are supporting one illegal alien. That's our sentence for committing baby murder. So that's what we get. If that's all we get, we're very lucky. I stopped the Bible readings in a couple of places, one in the New Testament, the book of John, and the other one in the Old Testament in Genesis, right after the flood of Noah. There's talk about all kinds of rights being taken away now. First, there is no right to an abortion. There's no right to privacy even in the entire Constitution. Safe and secure in their papers and persons implies it, but I certainly haven't seen anybody looking at that and emphasizing it. And there is a right to life, right in the preamble of the Declaration of Independence. Right to pursue life. So if we're going according to the guidelines that we founded this nation upon, there shouldn't be any abortion. This safe, rare, whatever crap they want to say is a bunch of BS. Now they're worried that we're going to make gay marriage illegal. Frankly, I don't give a damn. I'm tired of having that crap shoved down my throat. I would just as soon see marriages not be done by the state. I'd just as soon see them go back to the churches. Let the churches do that. I'd like to see a marriage license be the family Bible, with the marriage recorded inside the family Bible. That's the way it used to be before World War II. If you had a problem in your family, you'd bring in the Bible, which would be your evidence that you had married, or you had a child. All that stuff was in the family Bibles. We didn't need the government, and we didn't have to pay the government to live our lives. This is a system of slavery, home of the fee, land of the slave. Get used to saying it. It's the reality. Time for a reality check. As far as making miscegenation or mixed marriages illegal, I don't give a damn about that either, because it doesn't matter very much. I mean, people have enough trouble picking who they love, and a lot of people don't have a choice. They just love somebody regardless, no matter how destructive it might be to them. I've done that kind of sort of thing. I just had a friend who did that, and as he kept telling me, you don't pick the people you love, and he chose the wrong woman, and he come out pretty badly on that one. Well, we used to be men of reason, of intelligence, of rationality, and now they've got everybody living their lives based upon their feelings. How do you feel about that? Huh? What's your feelings about that? Would you care to share how you feel? Sharing like it's caring. Look, I don't care how you feel. I want to know what's right and proper. I want to know what's in your best interest. And that's what you should be concerned about, is what's in your best interest as well. Now, don't get me wrong. You got to have principles. Doesn't it sound like banking principles and interest? And you folks who get upset about these budgets and the money and the devaluation of it, there's no money. Get over it. They stole all the money. They took it away from us slowly over time. They started in the 1800s. And then we gave them another central bank, the Federal Reserve Bank, which is neither federal nor does it have any reserves. It creates money magically out of air by credit. It's all based on credit. Because it's based on credit, we have a war economy. We're forced to go to wars. Our founders gave us a wealth-based economy. Real gold, real silver, and when you have that, they can't inflate it, and they can't manipulate you and force you to go to war. Doesn't that sound like a nice place to live? Well, and every time I tell people what has to be done, they tell me how it can't be done, how it won't be done. And I'm tired of hearing it, even from so-called conservatives. Guy at a gas station yesterday, telling me it'll never be done. I'm tired of hearing that. I don't want to hear that negativity. This nation is done. It's already done. There's no republic anymore. The only way to get it back is to unbuild this monstrosity, this prison we've created for ourselves, this prison we've devised for ourselves. And you can roll it back slowly, and I don't mind doing it that way. It'll take a long time. I won't see it done in my lifetime, but, maybe the grandchildren of the family will see it. Maybe their children might see it, but I don't know. Roe versus Wade was a horrible piece of an abortion of legislation is what it was. It was an abortion of justice, a miscarriage of everything. The Supreme Court showed their true colors, legislating from the bench as they did then, and as they did with Obamacare. Justice Roberts shouldn't even have a law license. He should be disbarred. I hate to use that term. British Accreditation Registry. BAR, British Accreditation Registry. You have to restore the original 13th Amendment. It stripped every member of the Bar Association of any and all citizenship in these United States of America, which should be the case. You need to form the American Accreditation Registry. And you need to have your own show if you're going to be an attorneys. And by God, don't you make it happen in secret. You have to start doing things above board, because these secret things that you guys do get us into wars, get us into trouble. You got us in the War of 1812. That's why the original 13th Amendment was passed and codified in law. 10 of the original 13 states voted for it. It was the law of the land. And then 1 year later, Congress sat the attorneys in violation of it. Then Abraham Lincoln comes along and overwrites it with his anti-slavery amendment. Why? Because Abe wasn't so honest. Abe knew that the 13th Amendment made it illegal for him to hold the office of president. Wish we could roll back that entire presidency. Sadly, it looks like the Jesuits got the South riled up to fight against the North. And the South had good cause for it. But they, of course, did it on behalf of their bankers that they control as well. I'd really like to see people just stop participating in anything to do with this federal government. Ignore it. It'll have to go away. Don't comply with anything. I myself am hoping to figure out how to become a proper citizen of this nation and not one of their subjects or dead entities that they've created and turned us all into. No, I don't understand what I'm talking about, but I assure you by the time this summer's over, I'll have a real good idea, and I will let you know about it. Apparently, they don't have any jurisdiction on those people that understand what a living human being is and make declarations with so many of these state governments and departments around the nation declaring their true status. However, I don't know of anybody that's going after the financial trust that's held upon their behalf. I guess there's millions of dollars in those accounts, and that's what they're using to finance this whole system to go against us. Oh, I had a little joke the other day, but it's more than 10 years ago. I was on the radio, and I called the FDA the Federal Death Administration, not the Federal Drug Administration, because it is a death administration. And it was halfway joking when I said it in 2009. But today you need to realize it's the honest to God's truth. They want to kill us. They're doing their best. They do it. They get away with it. This modern medicine is so frickin' archaic, it's not funny. It's so barbaric. If you read the Bible, you'll find out that the snake people were the ones sentenced to eating dust, to eating, what should I say, chemicals, dust, fine powder, minerals, concoctions. That's what their sentence was. And if we read carefully, we see that the tree of life in the Garden of Eden, and we see in the future where the river is flowing through the land. I think that river comes out of the temple, maybe from Yahshua himself. That the banks of the river are loaded, populated with green leafy herbs, which are medicine for us and food for us, which they deny us. Instead, they feed us the poisons, the system of allopathy, which is built upon drugs designed on principles of toxicity and disabling, rather than giving you herbal stuff, which will stimulate your immune system and get you back in the game again. And of course, there's a reason why we don't live to be 120, which is what it says in the Bible is supposed to be our lifespans currently. And that's because we let those guys run the show and poison us. Oh, and we know now that there's a group of women behind the scenes that have been running the show all along. So that is something that needs to be delved into much more. So women who say the world would be a better place if it was a matriarchy and we lived under a matriarchy and you were in charge. Well, I hope you like it the way it is because you are in charge. It may not be you personally, but there's a group of women behind the scenes protected by a bunch of men. A bunch of secret societies probably in front of them. I understand that some of these military fortifications in the Ukraine, which we advised the Ukrainians to build, go down 20 miles? Is that true? 20 miles down? Were they mining for something there? What were they doing down in those depths? How many officers, how many troops are down there in those tunnels, in those facilities in the ground in the Ukraine? We can't even get the truth on anything. And this Congress, or what purports to be a Congress, has no oversight and no control. Even the president doesn't have oversight and control over a lot of this stuff. That's how out of hand this stuff has gotten. And in case you're wondering, as it was in the days of Noah, so it shall be in the return of the Son of Man, Yahshua. Well, back then they were giving each other in marriage too. Now, I don't know what they were marrying, and I don't know what kind of creatures they had going, what kind of hybrids they had, the fallen angels, the giants, different species. I don't know. But I do know this, that God flooded the earth because everyone had been corrupted. I don't know if that's because they had violated the genetic codes that Yahweh gave us and how he created us and how he said it was good, how he loved us being the way he made us. And we have created hybrids by screwing around. So we're going to see a lot more violence, just like it was in the days of Noah, before Noah and his family were sealed up in that ark. And all those people around them that were violent drowned in the flood. So expect more violence. You're going to get it whether you like it or not. We've been sentenced to it. And by the way, you ought to do a word study on the word pharmacopoeia or sorceries. Pharmacopoeia in Greek, sorceries. These guys have got psyops going, psychological sorceries, and they've got big pharma going, poisons and toxins. And they got the drug industry going, which the ones that refine those herbs and extract different compounds out of it and keep extracting and refining and getting more addictive, more dangerous substances. Like we had heroin, now we have, what is it called? Fentanyl? The blues is its nickname. Now we have the purples. God only knows what the purples are, but what we do know is it's far more lethal and it's resistant to the Narcan overdose treatment. Highly resistant to it. So it's probably cheaper, probably more addicting, far more deadly. And you tell me they're not trying to genocide us. They're not waging war on us. They are waging for war. It's a different kind of war. And the only thing that will save us is to turn back to our God, Yahweh, read our Bibles, abide by the 10 Commandments, and all the other commandments in that book, that series of books. And we need our militias. There's no way that I can overemphasize that. You don't need a professional police. You don't need a National Guard. You need to take care of the business yourself, ourselves. I wish Arizona would call for a militia. Arizona's never had a militia. And if Arizona had a militia, you can bet people would flock to the state knowing, I'm going to join the militia and I'm going to defend my country, my people. You know, we're not going to put up with this criminal stuff and this bullshit. The militia is explicitly tasked with two things in the Constitution. This is in writing. Quell insurrections. In other words, Antifa and Black Lives Matter can't act up if you got a militia handy. You need men with rifles. And then imagine if we had men we could send to the borders to back up the agents that are overwhelmed down there. And then also imagine if the police had a problem and they could call upon militia, their fellow militia members, to show up and back their asses up. Now that would be some power. We could straighten things out rather quickly, but it requires self-rule. It requires discipline. It requires being willing to be led by Yahweh, Yahshua, being willing to be guided by the book we call the Bible, the collection of books in the Bible, being submissive to the Holy Spirit, minding your P's and Q's. I wish I'd have been a better boy when I was growing up. If my father was alive today, I'd want to tell him how much I loved him and respected him, and how much I failed to show the respect that was due him. Yeah, I failed. I wish you people would hear taps playing right now. Or reveille, actually, is what I want to say. I get confused between those right now. But I guess we need taps for the Republic because we need to admit that it's dead. And we need reveille because I can't get them up. I can't get them up. I can't get them up in the morning. We got to get people up. We need our militias. Every able-bodied man, age 20 and above, just like in ancient Israel. Yeah, that's their guideline. Oh, and if you're newly married, you're not allowed to serve. I guess if you planted a vineyard or something, or a garden, you can't serve either. If you've got a child, you got to stay home as well. There's all kinds of guides in the Bible. You got to read it. We really need a well-regulated militia. It is necessary, and that is the only time in the entire Constitution the word necessary is used. Only in the Second Amendment. And by the way, we don't have a Second Amendment. You say, well, we have our guns. Yeah, but you don't have the militia. And that's really what matters, all that matters. The reason that the right to bear arms shall not be infringed is so we could rule ourselves and take care of it ourselves. We could pull together and correct it, arrest the errant criminals, bring them to justice. Man, the first state that forms a militia is going to find people flocking to that state. I hope it's a border state. I suggested it to Governor Abbott, but he appears to be a walking idiot. He's not very good for much of anything, as far as I can tell. And I don't like being disrespectful. I'd like to be able to respect his authority in his office. But they don't seem to understand right from wrong very well over there. And so they let wrong go on all the time in Texas. I don't understand that state. I was thinking about moving there until I had this bad experience in Texas. You know, Texas, talk about how big the state is, but Texas also has probably the biggest state government in the world. Yeah, you boys and girls, you boys in Texas got big government and you support it. And it seems like it's pretty corrupt. I heard from the natives in Texas they weren't going to vote for this governor again because they suspect him of being corrupt. New Mexico won't take action, although they've got a small border to defend, and it would be a good thing, but they're just going to go ahead and go down on crime. Like the rest of the states, will just let their ships of state sink beneath the waves of criminality. It's going to get worse. Remember, self-defense is justifiable. It's natural law. It's God's law. Self-defense is blessed. Rebellion is not. And we are stuck with this government because we rebelled. If you're not willing to live under God's laws, then you're stuck living underneath man's laws. So tell me, which would you rather live under? Man's laws or Yahweh's laws? That's it, though. Yahweh bless.